Welcome to our Week 2 Assembly. I hope everyone enjoyed their first week of Term 3. There are plenty of options for students at lunchtimes. Garden Club, Pizzicato Strings, Running Club and Mrs. Ensel's Artist in Residence program will all be available in Week 3. I will now read the Acknowledgement of Country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. The Year 6 students have spent time putting designs together for the 2020 Memento Tops. The class voted for Harriet Nichols' design. She's polishing her first draft and these will be sent off to Noon, our school uniform supplier. Well done to all Year 6s who submitted designs. Please join me in reading the junior school prayer. Dear God, this is our school. Let peace dwell here. Let the rooms be filled with contentment. Let gratitude, respect, resilience, optimism, and compassion live here. Help us remember that as so many hands build a house, so many hearts make a school. Amen.
The following Year 6 students have a birthday this week. Harriet Nichols celebrated her birthday on Monday and Will Balkan celebrates his birthday on Friday. We wish them all a very happy birthday and best wishes for their next trip around the sun. House points for this week. Berry, 401 points. Laidlaw, 469 points. Learmonth, 393 points. And Young, 390. Congratulations to Berry House who leads with the house points competition. It has tightened up and only with 32 points separated the four house points. Remember to work hard and earn house points and merit certificates in your class. Next week, Laidlaw House Captains Harriet Nichols and Darcy Fleetwood will be running the assembly. Have a great week everyone, and I will now welcome Mr. Nelson to speak to the assembly.
Thanks Charlie and Sophie for helping out with assembly, much appreciated, and I hope everyone's had a great first week back in Term 3. Got a few focuses to talk about this afternoon, and one of them is about being safe, and you may have noticed lots of different things happening in Victoria and particularly in Melbourne at the moment. And if you're a student attending school in Melbourne, and that's mainly Year 11 and 12 students, all of those students will be wearing masks, and we've noticed that a number of our junior school students have been wearing masks on buses and also to school in the playground and in classrooms, and that's perfectly okay. And that's a really important message this week, that it is perfectly okay to be wearing masks. This morning I took some photos of students coming off buses as they made their way to their classrooms, and here's Oscar wearing a disposable mask. Archie has a rather interesting design that is a PPE mask with a face shield, and he has been wearing that this week. In a lot of countries, Australia is quite unusual, but in places like Japan and Singapore, the wearing of masks is quite normal when things are normal and we don't have issues around coronavirus. And these are some photos of some people in families in Japan and some people in Tokyo, and wearing masks is very much a part of their culture, particularly in the colder months where colds and flus are about. So wearing masks is a fairly normal occurrence, and it's something that we encourage, particularly with our bus travellers. So if you are travelling on school buses, that wearing masks is very, very helpful. You'll also notice that over this week we've had our nurses coming around to classes and doing temperature checks, and again that's an important part of us keeping you safe. If you're unwell and you're leaving for school, it's important that you don't come into school, but we do our temperature checks in the morning with our nurses. Last week we talked around some hygiene messages about washing hands, and people have been doing that really well and using the sanitizer properly, not overusing it, which is important. But thank you for your cooperation from prep through to Year 6 with that as well. And the social distancing, which is just something that we probably need to work on in the playground and modify some of our games to typically we're not too close to people for long periods of time. I know in the classroom it's hard to do that because you're often doing group reading or working on the floor, and teachers have been separating people, and I thank them for that. But in the playground, it is something that we need to work on. I've sent a clip around to teachers, and we're not able to show it on assembly, but this is a story that was written by a doctor, and the picture on the left-hand side is her reading her story to her 6-year-old daughter. It's called The Magic Cure, and it's just around the issues concerned with why we're doing certain things in our community at the moment and also in our schools. So if you get a chance to watch The Magic Cure, please do. It's a picture storybook, and might have a really good discussion with your class teacher at the conclusion of reading that story. Last week we reintroduced our 5 values that we have at the college, and we talked around compassion that the teachers showed by sending off some gifts to a school in Eastern Victoria and Malakuta. And respect is something that we should see every day in our classrooms, in our playgrounds, on our buses as well. Respect for our uniform is really important. Here's 2 of our Year 3 students. We've got Elsie and we've got Jimmy, and they're looking absolutely splendid in their uniforms with their blazers and really tidy this morning. So please make sure that you're respecting our uniform. It's a fantastic uniform. It's one of the reasons that you come to our school, apart from the fact we've got great teachers and a fabulous playground and lots of opportunities to learn. But one of the things that we do have is a great uniform, and we need to make sure that we're respecting that. Some people have also got some stickers in diaries this week, and mainly boys around here, and it's important that we're making sure that we're tidy and respecting the values of the school. So if you could do that, I know that I'll really appreciate that, and also your classroom teachers. The rest of the assembly is just to highlight some of the things that are happening in and out of our school. It's a busy place, even though we have got some restrictions, there's lots of things happening. So our Year 3 and our Year 5 classes this year are piloting or having a go at using an online program called Little Scribe. And this is where they work with an author, and it's usually a well-known author, and they get a story starter, and from that story starter they each produce their own story, they do storyboards, and then they get a published copy of that book that's in hard copy but also online. And I know that the Year 5s have been working on a story called Charlie the Chicken Chaser. So they've been given a start that's been written by the author, and their job is to finish that story. And I've been watching a little bit of that during our remote learning when they were working on that story, and I'm really excited to read the final copies of those books. So it's a great activity that the Year 3 and 5 classes have been working on this year. A few things that are happening at lunchtimes and after school. So Pizzicato Strings, we weren't able to run that when we were in remote learning in Term 2, but it is going to start up again, and it's going to start next Tuesday. But what we're going to do is something slightly different. We can't use the refectory at the moment, and that's the space, and our music room's just a little bit too small for that group to be rehearsing safely with social distancing. So we're going to bus you up next Tuesday to the senior campus. You'll get to eat your lunch before that, and then rehearse on the stage in the Simons Auditorium with Mrs. Weir and also Mr. Singh, and then come back for the last 2 sessions of the art for 2 o'clock for the last part of the day. So that's a slight change, but we'd like all Pizzicato Orchestra members to be on that bus next Tuesday and coming up, because we're really still hoping to be able to run our speech day, and Pizzicato Orchestra is a really important part of that in Term 4. So that'll be starting next Tuesday. Just a reminder that book club, and we've been getting lots of orders through Mrs. Povey's desk this week, but this Friday is the cut-off date, the 24th of July. So if you're wanting to order for book club, and that should be back in a couple of weeks, please get those in envelopes with your order form and your money up to Mrs. Povey's desk, and we'll send those off. And there's some great books in this offering, so have a look through, and there's a couple of days if you haven't managed to order something. Our Artist in Residence program last year involved our panels, which are making up our piazza area of the Prep 1 and 2 area, outside where the basketball courts used to be. And these 3 panels were the ones that Mrs. Adensel and Mrs. Cameron worked on with some people last year, and they are a fabulous part of our school. This year our Artist in Residence program is starting, and it's on Tuesday at lunchtime, so it does clash with Pizzicato. But if you're interested in heading over to the art room with your lunch and working on a project that'll be ongoing and finished we were hoping at the end of term 4. Please make yourself available to go over and be part of that. We won't be able to run the after school element of that, so having families come in isn't possible at the moment, but Mrs. Adensall is really keen to get that up and running, and some people might have even gone yesterday, but certainly next week if you're interested. It's a great lunchtime activity, particularly if it's wet weather, and you get to do some art with Mrs. Adensall, who's very, very talented. People who are signed up for our Compass Award in Year 5 and 6 might like to use that artist in residence as part of their either voluntary, or also it could be a hobby. If you're artistic and you like doing those sorts of things, you could certainly get your 4 hours up in level 1 by attending the artist in residence. So it's something that you might think about if you're one of those 26 students in our upper primary who have signed up for the Compass Award this year. Some sports started up. I know that we had a number of people playing football on Saturday and Sunday last weekend, but hockey starts up this weekend. So we've got 4 teams competing in the Division 4 competition this year: the Numbats, the Bandicoots, the Drop Bears and the Tassie Devils. So they start their matches on Saturday afternoon. Those times are in this week's newsletter. So good luck to those teams who are taking part. Stay safe, everyone.